Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. I am cat sitting this week for two adorable little kitties, and that's been really fun. There's been a lot going on this past weekend. On Saturday, I participated in an art fair, which I've been preparing for many weeks, and that was a lot of fun. And then last week, I also, it was actually a week ago now, so, oh, there's one of the kitties now. Hi, baby. About a week ago, I woke up on a Tuesday morning. I must have slept funny, had horrible neck and shoulder pain, and it has not really gotten any better. I had a couple days where I thought, oh, maybe I'm on the mend. And then after Saturday, being so busy lifting and moving and setting things up for the art fair, now it's back to just being really not in a good place again. So I've been experiencing some neck and shoulder pain that's pretty significant, having trouble sleeping. So anyway, all that to say, I almost didn't make a video today because I just really wasn't feeling very creative. It's kind of hard to feel creative when you're struggling with very strong discomfort and some pain. So anyway, I did want to make a video. I went ahead and did it. I'm very glad of that. And it's a 10-minute painting. I didn't actually time it, so maybe either slightly over or slightly under. And I didn't use a reference image, so it's just a very free, loose painting. The 10-minute watercolor series that I have here on YouTube is all about getting something done in a short amount of time, not worrying about a ton of detail, being super accurate with proportions or anything like that. You can be very loose and free with it and just have fun. So that's what this piece is about. I used one large brush to help keep things really loose. And yeah, so I'm gonna get into that in just a moment. Before I do, I wanted to mention my website, CoreyFrankCreates.com. It's the best way to get in touch with me. You can sign up for my weekly email newsletter, check out my online art shop, dive into my online courses. So if you're curious about watercolors or have been considering taking a class or wanting to get into them a little more, I have online courses that take you from kind of very beginner up to advanced in teaching all the things I wish I had known when I first tried watercolors. So you can check all those out there. I would love for you to go visit the website, get to know me a little bit. Feel free to reach out and contact me if you have any questions. Again, that is all on CoreyFrankCreates.com. All right, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this painting. Okay, so I have, I believe this was a 5" by 7" piece of 140-pound watercolor, cold press paper. I cut it down from a larger size, and this is not the paper I normally like to use. The materials that I would recommend are linked in the description. As an Amazon associate, I do earn a commission on qualifying purchases, so please be aware of that. So all those links in the description are those paid links. So I've got 140-pound watercolor paper. Again, the brand I would recommend, Canson XL, is linked in the description. And then I have my Silver Limited Black Velvet oval wash brush, which is 3/4 inch size. You can see it comes to a really nice point, but it's a nice big brush, has lots of bristles, so it can take on a lot of water, a lot of paint. And I like using it to try and keep things looser. I find that when I use a larger brush, I tend to keep things a little looser. So this is just going to be a fun, I don't know at the start of this if it is actually going to fill up 10 minutes. So I'm just going to go for it and do a kind of little floral study, some very simple flowers. And without any further ado, I'm going to jump right in. So I've got my jar of water and towel for blotting up out of the picture frame. So whenever my hand goes out of the frame, that is where it's going. And I'm just going to start with a brown. So I like this burnt umber. And that's a little too watery. I had a little too much water in the brush. I'm just dabbing very loosely here, kind of a beehive shape almost a little bit. And then, oh, I don't know if you can hear that sound in the background, but I'm cat sitting, as I mentioned in the in the intro, and one of the kitties came in to check it out, see what I was doing. So he's in the room, I think. He's scratching at some stuff. So, all right, now I'm gonna go into my dioxazine purple, and I'm gonna very lightly overlap. I will take advantage of the wet on wet here, and I'm just gonna do very loose kind of strokes here. Again, that larger brush really lends to a loose style. There we go. And I'm not using a reference image in this, just kind of going for it. So feel free to follow along if you want. Just know that there's not a, oops, I didn't have enough purple in that. There's not a reference image to refer to. I'm just painting this out of my head, being nice and free and loose with it. It's fairly loose paint, although a couple of these you can tell are a little darker. That dioxazine purple is a really wonderful, wonderful, vibrant tone. So you have to be a little careful with it. If you get too much, it can get really thick very fast. Again, just very loose. Painting out of my imagination, so it's probably not going to look anything like the way a flower would really look in real life, but it was fun to just kind of experiment with it. And I think that's the chair. If you hear another sound in the background, I think it's the chair I'm sitting on, so forgive me for any of the background noise. Okay, so once these have dried, which they dry fairly quickly, we can go in with a little more detail. So I want a little bit thicker paint, and again, I'm just gonna use this large brush, but I'm gonna bring it up on the tip to kind of get a little more of that detail here. And again, we wanna be careful, make sure that it's dry. This isn't 100% dry, so it's gonna do a little bit of feathering, which is what that wet in a wet technique is known for. So you can see how these edges were much cleaner, crisper, because the petal, the paint that I had painted first was already completely dry. Same with this one, it's pretty dry, so I don't have any feathering or edges fanning out. So that just kind of demonstrates the difference between working wet into wet or wet on dry. Just building up just a little bit of kind of layers and shading. That's kind of really all I wanted to do with this. Just a tad. Adds a little bit of dimension. Okay, and now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go into some sepia brown, which is darker than the burnt umber here. I'm gonna add some texture. Get a little thicker paint. There we go. Just kind of dot and blot in a couple spots. May need to lift some. I kind of went and got a little impatient. It was a little too watery when I first laid it down. So I'm gonna just kind of blot that up and start over. In this case, it probably would be wise to switch to a slightly smaller brush, but I have committed to doing this with just the larger brush, so I'm gonna leave it there. Just kind of a little dotting effect. I want to sort of give that hint of sort of the seeds at the center. And there we go. I'll do maybe one or two other flowers. And actually, I think I am definitely going to fill the 10 minutes. I always underestimate the amount of time things will take. I think, oh, I'll fly through that, and then I don't. So that's just how it goes. So again, I've got my burnt umber here. Kind of a light. I'm going to do a little more circular this time. I'm going to have a flower from a different angle. I have rinsed my brush well, blotted it, and now I'm gonna go in with some of that, again, the dioxazine purple. And I'm liking this wet into wet flow where the brown is kind of bleeding into the purple. I was totally okay with that happening. So if you don't want that to happen, you would want to wait for your center to dry before you go over with the purple. But I was liking that bleeding wet into wet effect. So I'm going for it. Go. Again, very loose. Not being too careful or exact with it. That's the word I'm looking for. I just want things to kind of be loose. And again, this purple is so vibrant, it's a little hard to keep it light and pale. So, and then when I do get it light and pale, it's almost a little too light. So I'm gonna add a little more purple back over in there. There we go. That'll be a larger petal right there. I really had a lot of bleeding right here, and that's okay. All right, while that's drying, I'm gonna go back into my sap green. And that right here. Just do a little bit of a stem and leaves. Perfect. All right. And yeah, I think I will only have time for these two flowers. I realized I should have gotten a detail brush, so when I do decide to sign this little piece, it will be, it would have been a nicer looking signature. But again, I made my choices, so I'm sticking with it. This is still a little wet in some spots, but I want to move quickly so I can say that I got this done in roughly 10 minutes. Again, going over with some kind of further shadows, lines, definition kind of for these flowers. Nothing too earth-shattering. This is, again, exercises like these are really nice for trying to keep things loose. I tend to, when I'm working with larger pieces or really detailed pieces, I tend to get really granular with it, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So sometimes just taking a step back, being loose and free with things can really help. Sort of simplify a little bit. And again, I was not at all careful, so that's a super fat stem. That's just what we're gonna go with. A little more. Again, this is a sap green. Probably could have used a round brush and had a little more careful detail with this. Go back into my sepia brown. Ooh. Spare hair there. And okay, we're gonna do one little thing, one little batch of splatter. And that's just the dioxazine purple with some water in the brush. Let's see if I can actually write a signature with this brush. It's gonna be very wide because it's not a detail brush. So it's probably gonna look a little funny. this giant signature on a little painting. There you go. Somewhat charming. So there you go, in roughly 10 minutes. And again, I didn't set an exact timer, so I'm thinking that was around 10, 11 minutes. We have just a simple little piece, very loose, fun, and free. You could turn this into like a little card, write a note on the back or anything like that. And yeah, so just a loose, free exercise in a short amount of time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. Until my next one, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. God bless, and I will see you soon.